live.
Live with Sol and Luna reporting from the
Welcome,
Chillonas Pero Badass.
KQRV.
From the Chillonas Pero Badass studio.
This is Sol,
And this is Luna, and we are Chillonas.
pero badass.
My mom does this thing where she will knock twice and then just walk in. Pero she doesn't wait for me to say, "Hey, like, okay, you can come in or give me a second." No, she thinks that that's like the okay, like, all right, I knocked twice, like I'm gonna come in. And it used to be that she'd even knock, she'd just open the door and then like she'd just be like finding me half naked.
Have a chichi out.
Right. And she's just like, okay. And I'm like, I'm changing. And her thing is like, ay, que tiene? And I'm like, girl, I'm changing.
Back up. That's funny. Yeah, yours knocks. Mine does not knock at all. At all. She literally will open the door and like poke her head through and she'll be like, "What are you doing?"
Be
Mid
like,
and
yes.
yeah, and even like mid shower, okay? She'll walk in and we have glass doors on the shower, so
¿Qué estás haciendo?
be like, "Hey girl, I just gotta pee real quick."
God is watching you.
I have a story for you. Are you ready to hear this?
A ver.
This surpasses the reasons of why we need boundaries with our freaking moms. Okay. So this is back before we lived in this house. We lived with my aunt still. And this was before I was on birth control. So please don't judge me for this. I know it's bad. I know it's so bad for women's reproductive health, but I was taking Plan Bs, right? And so I thought it was cute to clean out my car and like throw all this freaking trash away.
Cute.
Yeah, I thought it was cute. I thought I was gonna be cute and take out all of my trash out of my car, and I was like, "Wow, I'm gonna be so productive." But I don't know, okay? Como una mujer, I fucking fill the back seats of my car up with trash. Okay, that's just it.
It's
And
bound to
so,
happen. You can't
yeah,
avoid that.
like
There's no
drink the
way.
water, tirar the water bottle in
Aviéntalo.
the back. Yeah.
I'm done with that. Throw it to the back.
Starbucks cup empty. Ahí va para
Good.
atrás.
I'll throw it away later.
Literally. And so I had a whole bunch of trash. I ended up taking like 2 trash bags out. So along with that trash, I threw away the Plan B packaging. And mind you, I think I was doing this like without being on birth control for like 6 months. So I had all these fucking Plan B boxes that I threw away. It was about maybe 10 or 12, maybe even more.
No
And
judgment.
yeah, no, please don't. I know it's bad. Okay, I know it's bad. So I threw it away in my aunt's trash. Thought nothing of it. Thought nothing of it. And I was like, okay. And the thing is that okay, I didn't just throw it away like in a trash bag. No, I had it en un sobre, adentro de una bolsa, adentro de otra bolsa, like in
Bien
the bag.
escondido, right?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and then like a couple days later, my mom's pissed at me and she's not talking to me, okay? And my aunt's kind of looking at me sideways. My
What?
uncle's looking at me sideways, and my cousin's like my girl cousin, she's like, they're mad at you because they found Plan Bs in the trash
Stop.
can. And she's like, they asked me if they were mine, and I said no. She's like, so they know that it's yours. And I was like, eso me pasa por pendeja. I should have just threw it away at a gas station.
Isn't that terrible?
They really went through I was appalled at the fact that they went through my fucking trash.
It's really crappy that like growing up I had to do that too. Like even if I had Wiener Schnitzel and I'm just like I can't my family find out, like my mom finds out I'm gonna get in trouble. So I like would throw it away before I got to my mom's.
What the hell?
So I totally understand you thinking, why the hell did I throw it away here and not somewhere
Yeah.
else?
Well,
Oh
I
my
was like,
god.
they really
But
girl,
at
so
your aunt's house, right?
yes, so but for them to find it, that means that they were going through the trash.
They dug. I think
Yes.
they were probably expecting to find what, condoms?
Yeah, they were looking for something.
That's
And
rude too, though.
yeah, that's like an invasion of privacy. That's like reading your diary. Never had a
Can't you
diary.
sue? Can't you sue for that? I mean,
And the thing is, okay, like I was 23. And so,
still.
yes. No, like I was 23. Like I'm to the point where, okay, yes, I still live under my mom's roof, but at the same time,
Mm.
I should also be
Lu-
able to.
Luna's got some urges that need to
Mhm.
be met.
Right. Okay. This is my prime. Okay, so we sit down and have a conversation, and she's like, "Are they
Oh,
yours?" And I was like, "Well,
wait, who?
yeah."
Your aunt or your mom?
My aunt and I. We sat down and they were like, "Well, are they yours?" And I was like,
Oh,
"Well,
oh, they had a family meeting with you.
yeah, they really did. They literally ripped me a whole new one. And they were like, well, why are you taking this? Like, you shouldn't even be taking this. This is not for you. This is not like what I'm sacrificing myself for. My mom, along those lines. Yes. Yo estoy yendo a trabajar para que tú estés con tus pendejadas. Mind you, 23, but paying my own fucking bills, putting myself through school. Like,
And you taking care of yourself was a pendejada.
yes, literally. And so I knew I wasn't gonna get my point across, so I was just like, fuck it. Like I'm not even gonna say anything anymore. Mejor me quedo callada, no le peleo, whatever. Girl, when I tell you my mom did not talk to me for a year and a half, she did not talk to me for a year and a half. No, I'm serious. And to my partner, she had already knew him. We've been together since we were really young. So my mom has known who I've been dating. And girl, she stopped talking to my partner that whole year and a half too. She stopped talking to him. And he like, I mean, I felt so bad because I couldn't even like at that point my sister was still young. So when my boyfriend and I would hang out, it would be like, well, she had to be with my sister. And so we lived in a really enclosed space.
Hmm.
And but when my mom would come home and he'd be there, like, girl, she would just walk right past him. Wouldn't say
So
hi, nothing.
rude.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think it's because, I mean, is there more to it? You now think that is the reason why your mom was so upset for like for her not to talk to you for a year and a half? Like she obviously told you why, look, que no está bien, blah, blah, blah. She gave you a
Hmm.
whole lecture.
Hmm.
But I mean, now that you look back on it, was that really why, like lo que te dijo, or was there more to it?
I just think it was the fact that she was like having to almost like accept that I was sexually active. Yo creo eso era lo que le encabronó más. And then like for
Mm.
my aunt to find out and make it a bigger deal than it was. The thing is that my
So
aunt has always been a little bit more understanding in that sense. She's always kind of like pushed for to be able to have the talk because I, when I sat down and had this conversation, my aunt was more along the lines of like safe sex. My mom was more along the lines of pissed. And so I do think it was because I was being sexually active and she didn't know how to handle that. She didn't know how to talk about it. And so the first emotion, the hardest emotion, the biggest emotion, she was just mad.
plus with your aunt and the family finding out.
Yeah.
So either she needed to act on it
Mm-hmm.
for herself, like for her to look good, right? See, no, it's like if she doesn't and she kind of just like avoids it, then it looks worse on her. So it's like she had to almost like she was in this really tight position for her to like decide, right? Which way am I
Yeah.
going with this? How do I handle this? Especially if it was because it probably could have gone differently if like your aunt didn't know and your family didn't, and,
But
if it
see,
was just your mom, right?
yeah, but here's the thing. The reaction for me was that to stop talking to me. For my younger
For so long.
siblings, yeah, but for my younger siblings, it wasn't like that. It was like, oh, okay, and moving along. Como que si nada pasó.
Hmm.
So the conversation
Avoid it.
continued. Yeah, she continued to talk to her like nothing. And that was ese era uno de mis corajes because I'm like, you stopped talking to me for a whole year and a half. We lived in the same fucking house.
I can't. That's crazy.
Mhm.
Instead of keeping like real boundaries, it just that's just a reaction off emotions. Like, what do you like with my mom? Like having boundaries with her, it's so hard. I'm listening to what you're saying, and I think about my mom and how it's so hard for her to well, at least when I lived with her, it was really difficult for her to give me privacy. It's almost as if she thought, "Well, what do you need it for? Like, what do you need to do in private? Why do you need to have the door closed?
Oh,
Why do
yeah.
you?"
Mhm.
And it wasn't even for being specifically doing something bad. It was just having my own space. But even then, like, I really didn't have my own space because everything in my drawers was like often dug through,
Mhm.
whether it was like pockets or bags or backpacks, drawers. I couldn't hide anything no matter what because I knew she went through it all. So it's almost like, what is she looking for and what am I doing wrong that she needs to be looking for something?
Almost like you're living like a prisoner.
Yeah, a prisoner who
Mhm.
didn't do anything. I am not
Like,
guilty, sir.
I am innocent
I am innocent until proven guilty.
until she finds something to make me guilty about.
I am my own lawyer, okay?
Inocente.
Lo declaro. But seriously, it just I try to understand. I mean, I don't know anything. I don't have kids. I mean, that's the most common thing,
Yeah.
right? It's hard to say, but seeing it from a child perspective and trying to put myself in my mother's shoes, I just it's hard. It's hard to like at least the way my mom thinks, it's okay, what is she looking for? Drugs? I didn't know what drugs were till
Yeah.
like 4th grade.
Oh, wow.
5th.
Fourth.
Yeah,
Wow.
well, you know why? Because no one had these conversations with me.
Yeah.
And then at school, like, it wasn't even like, I think their fear was if they told you what they were, that you were gonna go
That
off
you
and
were
do
gonna
them.
be curious and go and try
Right.
it.
But it's like, I didn't know what they were. I didn't know, like, of what they were until my neighbors came over and they're like, "Oh, yeah, something, something drugs." And I'm like, "What's that?" And they both looked at me all crazy. "You don't know what drugs are?" And they, like, acted out a scene and everything where they're, like, pretending to be a stranger, trying to give a kid, drugs, and they're like, "No, drugs are bad." And I'm like,
Oh.
"Okay, cool. I know what that means now. Thanks."
Wait, but what are the drugs, right?
I don't
Because they
know,
don't
but I know they
exactly.
were bad.
They were bad.
They were bad, and I was like, "I'm avoiding that shit."
But marijuana is not a drug. Just kidding.
Well, now it is.
But see, because it was so like it's so almost like it's so like dumbed down to a sense where they're like drugs are this, but in reality, do we know what drugs are? No.
Are we aware of what drugs we're talking about here? Like,
No,
what they are?
exactly.
Which ones? What about them?
It's funny that you bring that up though about like why you think privacy was so difficult for your mom and to be honest with you, I think the same. I think that for me what I think for my mom specifically was so difficult was the fact that she was trying to find ways to know more about my life and know more about me growing up. But instead of asking or having conversations with me, it was easier for her to just pry through my things or to look through folders, to look through my backpack.
But
Um,
what was she looking like? What do you think she was looking to find out though?
I
Like
don't think
digging your things. Like
I don't think
not
she
that they were
was,
bad. I think
yeah.
it's more just what you said, right? Because I'm with you there. I didn't have conversations with her either, and it wasn't like I was telling her about the the conversation with my friends at school or, what games we were playing or I have a crush on so and so
Yeah.
and he gave me a sharpener and I got yelled at for it, so I can't talk about that no more.
Hmm.
But I guess it's like I wonder what in their mind they had that they're like, "I gotta look and I gotta find something to know." It's almost like, okay, what are you gonna look for that it's gonna tell you what conversations I'm having, what boys I'm talking to,
Hmm.
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
I
whether
just
it's
feel
good or
like it was
bad.
easier to do that than to for them. Well,
But look how
specifically,
bad that turned
yeah.
out,
Mhm. Well,
right?
of course, right? Like we
Yeah.
know that now.
Now.
Yeah. And do they know how to have conversations with us now? No.
No, they don't.
It's hard. It's hard because, it's so funny is like there's sometimes where you just need a good cry. I don't know about you, but sometimes you just need a good cry, right? And so usually when I do that, I'll be in my car on my way home. When I used to work, I used to get so frustrated, like with school and things like that. So just come home and just freaking, my eyes would be like so red, my nose is red, like leaking. Yeah, like Chiona all over, right? And my mom would be like, "What's wrong with you? ¿Qué tienes?" Like so dramatic. And I'd be like, "Nothing." And I would say nothing because either
You
one,
rather
I didn't want to talk
mhm,
about it, or two, you're
mhm.
not gonna understand, so I'm not
Rather
gonna
just
bother.
avoid it all.
Yeah. And so I'd be like, nothing. And she literally would pry and pry and pry. And like her favorite thing to say to kind of guilt trip me into telling her is like, "But I'm your mother." And literally, I'm like, so what? Like, so what if you're my mom? And so
Mhm.
that begs the question of like, why is it why is it such a big issue to keep things to yourself? Because in reality, you know, I'm sure for me, for example, I want to sometimes keep things to myself. I kind of want to sit and digest with things and like, think about why I feel a certain way towards them, or why I reacted the way that I reacted. So I like to process my own emotions or my own thoughts
Mhm.
to myself, and I don't need others' opinions sometimes about what I'm feeling or why I'm feeling it. And so not talking about it and sitting with it is okay with me. And for her, it's not, because for her, it's like, "Oh my God, mi hija está llorando. ¿Por qué está llorando? ¿Quién le hizo llorar?" Like, it's like, and a lot of the times she'll like be like, "Oh, you're crying because of your dad." And then it'll go like into like this whole thing about my dad. And I'm like, "No, like that's not why I'm upset, because I have a paper due that I didn't get done on time, you know?"
Right.
No, it's so difficult. It's like this big issue as to why things are private.
You know what I think about is how I had moments like that, what you're talking about with assignments and school and homework and all that, how I would have something due, or, I had homework to do, but then I felt I had to prioritize doing the chores my mom asked me to do than doing my homework, like, because I was afraid of getting in trouble, or por ser floja, or whatever, you fill
Mhm.
in the blank.
Yeah.
But I always did that. I ended up doing the things that I was asked to do first, and then my homework, and a veces I wouldn't even finish my homework,
Mhm.
or it was half-assed, right? Compared to, because it's already like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to do my homework, all because, like, and I'm easily distracted, just mind you.
Yeah.
So it's already hard just to keep focused on my homework, but the fact that I had to get those chores done first is mind blowing now, because now as an adult in college,
Mhm.
I learned that I am easily distracted, but I
Mhm.
know what environment I need to be in
Mhm.
to help focus. And I realized that when I was being at home, even like, during my college years, being at home, I wanted to do this. I wanted to do laundry while I did homework. I might as well cook something for now and for later. O
Mhm.
sea, I easily distracted myself with these things, or at least to
Mhm.
get myself in the mode again, took so much more than I believe a normal person who doesn't need to do those things, right? But
Mhm.
I'm like, I have to have things a certain way on my desk. It's like this OCD that kicks in my brain, where it's like, okay, well, it's messy. You can't work in clutter. You got to fix this, so you could work better, for example.
Mhm.
But I think about that with how my mom would tell me I got to get this done. Like, I didn't even feel like I was able to tell her, like, I can't do that right now because I got
Yeah.
homework to do.
And that's like why I feel like boundaries are so important, especially within the Latin American household. Because I know like we share a lot of similar stories. We don't know like if for everybody it's like that, but specifically for us, that's why boundaries are so important, because they create that line for you to protect yourself, your energy, your needs first, versus having to take care of everybody else. And I think that's why boundaries are so hard because we're so used to taking care of everybody else and taking care of ourselves last.
And you know what? It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Because from when I was a kid, having to shake a family member's hand or give them a
Mm-hmm.
hug, like, era falta de respeto if I didn't. And if I didn't, like, se veía mal, so then my dad would be like, "Oh, you better say hello, like saluda, abrázalos or whatever." And I'm like, I don't want to do that with this person.
You're right.
And and it starts as a child, so then you continuously grow and having that in your mind already that, like, well, I have to because they told me to. It doesn't matter what I feel. If I don't feel good about it, I still have to do it. And also, with those feelings, it's filling out paperwork for them,
Yeah.
documents, checks, right? Filling them out for them. And it's like, if you don't do them, they can't do it. So you need to do it for them.
Yeah.
And things like that, right? That you already feel like, well, I have to do these things. Like I can't say no.
Mm-hmm.
So como dices tú, I grow up believing already that I have to help everyone else. I have to do what I can to be there for everybody else and meet their needs
Mm-hmm.
before even getting to mine. And because I wasn't getting to mine and I'm putting everybody else's first, I
Yeah.
was neglecting my feelings and along with like my thoughts and my opinions, just already dismissing them even before anyone else did. Or
Yeah.
because everyone else did, I did it just 100% more.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing with boundaries. They're not only like boundaries for just like saying no, it's also like boundaries for your emotional well-being, your physical well-being. And like you said, it's something so that you don't have to feel uncomfortable.
How have you been able to set boundaries now that you know what is and isn't okay? Have you been able to? Is it still a work in progress? Like, I'm curious coming from your
Funny.
end.
It's funny because it's still a work in progress, girl.
Girl.
It's funny though because sometimes setting those boundaries can make me feel like a shitty person because sometimes I'll be like, well, no, I'm not going to do it right now. I can't do it right now. I can do it tomorrow at this time. And it's like, well, why can't you do it now? Like, for example, her checks, to write her checks, because my mom's old school, y'all. She still likes me to write checks for her. And so she's like, oh, necesito que me haga mis cheques ahorita. And I'm like, oh, I can't right now. I can tomorrow in the morning, or I can do it in the morning before I go to work.
I'll
And it's
schedule
like,
you in.
yes, but it's like that doesn't work for her. And so I'm like, what's the difference between right now and tomorrow morning? It's 10 o'clock at night right now.
Mhm.
And tomorrow morning before you're going to drop them off tomorrow either way. So like
Right.
what's the difference? And so she's just like, that's fine. Nobody does anything for me. Sometimes it'll be that, and then other times it'll be like, okay. But the thing is that she's me ha acostumbrado so much of like her guilt tripping me into doing things.
And to avoid conflict,
Yeah,
you just do it.
I'll just do it.
You cave into
But
it.
but now I realize that sometimes it's okay to say no. Well,
Mhm.
whenever you're uncomfortable, it's okay to say no. And whenever you don't want to do something, people shouldn't have to force you to do it. And it's okay to say no. So when I do say no, I feel bad. And then I'll like, sometimes I can't sleep and I'll end up like getting out of bed and doing it. but,
How
but
often do you say no?
pretty often.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
pretty
awesome.
often, pretty often. And so I feel like it's trial and error, right? Because sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't work. And it's difficult. It's difficult because of the aspect of me feeling guilty for saying no or for setting that boundary. Because it literally will be like, I need you to do this. And it's not even can you, hey, do you have time? Or is it okay with you if no,
It's
it's
not
like
even a
it's
question.
a demand. And that
Mhm.
that that gets me going. And I'm like, no, like what the fuck? Like where is the question? Where is the
A
niceness? It's like
police?
I am not your cha-cha to be doing these things for you.
I visit my mom and, I'm happy to see her and I'm like looking at my brother and sister like, "Hey, like enjoy my mom's
Hey,
cooking because
buenas,
it's not."
buenas.
Exactly. I can't with this woman is that I come to visit and what does she do? Lléname ese papel, por favor. ¿Qué dice? I'm like, all right, girl, I got you. Let me read it real quick. And then, yeah, I explain, okay, well,
Yeah.
this is telling you, oh, okay, good, okay. And ¿puedes ir a pagarme este bill? Aquí, si vas a ir para allá, ¿qué lado vas? Right? ¿Qué lado? And I'm like, I don't even know what to say. I'm going southeast. Like,
I'm going back home, girl. Voy a ir al
it's
baño, pero
already
en mi
very
casa.
just throw in location, the North Pole. But like, shit, like no matter what, está cerquita del mall. You can go pay for this, please.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm just like, I came to visit. I didn't come to do your duties, lady. But that's just it. It's because of the fact that I've always been the
The
person to
go-to.
help her. Uh-huh. And I'm looking at her like you have two grown ass adults
Mhm.
who are very capable of
Very
doing.
capable.
And it's gotten to the point now that even like with my husband, he goes and he's just like, no, don't do anything. No, like you're not gonna do anything. She can do it, or she has two other children that can help her do it that are there all the time.
Say it with me. No. No. As
I
you
don't
nod your
even
head,
live with
yes.
him. And I'm just like, no, and I nod my head yes, but that's the problem that I have that yo por ayudar, and I'm like, okay, well I'm needed, so I need to help her. But then sometimes sí me da coraje because I'm like, girl, like I just got here. Hug me. Love me.
Let me sleep first. Damn.
Ask me how I'm doing. Ask me if I need something done.
Not too much
You wanna
help.
pay my bill?
You know what's funny is that's what I was gonna ask you is like now that you're married and you're far away from your mom because you do live a couple hours away from your mom, has it been difficult to create
Yes. Yes. No, I'm just kidding.
yes it has
Yes, it has.
finish has it been difficult to create those boundaries with your mom and like what does that look like for you?
It's still a work in progress.
It's always a work in progress con latinas.
It's construction.
Cerrado.
Gracias por venir. Adiós.
Caution.
¿Qué pasa el desgraciado? Just kidding.
Boy.
But no, but for real, for real. I'm scared of my mom. No, I'm just kidding.
No, period. Period, though.
I'm scared of my mom.
Both our moms are
It's
really
still,
small. And small people hold a lot of anger, y'all. They
girl,
turn into Hulk.
they're spicy enchiladas.
Yes.
For sure. No, like I can't. It's just a thought. But with her, it's still hard to, how do I put this? Even when I moved out in the beginning years ago, I realized that we don't really talk because even as I live far away, like conversations over the phone didn't really happen. I wouldn't really call her to talk. Like if anything, I would call her to let her know I'm coming to visit this weekend.
Hey, ahí voy.
Para que hagas de comer.
Para que tengas viles
Hazme
listos
un
para mí.
pozole. Um, it was just to give her a heads up that I was coming by, or just small talk. There was never, and even throughout my time in college, and I kept track of this after a while, that she would never ask me how I was doing, how school was doing, how my classes were going. It was always calling me to vent about my brother, calling
Oh
to
my
vent about my
gosh,
sister,
yes.
to tell me, give me all her complaints and what's stressing her out
Here's
in
the list.
life. Right. And I feel like she was like reading it off one by one. All right. And then she's done and she's like, all right, well, good talk, girl. I'll talk to you in 3 more weeks. And then that was it. And then I would sit there and now I'm like, I just grabbed all that load and I'm like, I thought I moved out from all this, but I realized that it was heavy to talk to her. So I had to give myself the space too, and to mentally prepare myself for when I did see her or when I did talk to her, because I love my mother, but it's very hard to avoid absorbing what she's carrying because
Yeah.
I hate that she's going through what she's going through. I
Yeah.
hate that she's feeling what she's feeling, but I have to think about myself. I have to be a little more selfish. It's really hard because I've never been selfish throughout my life. But now that I'm like, I have to take care of myself, because if I continuously fall in that pattern of just taking everything in that she's carrying, I'm not going to get anywhere healthy wise. I'm not going to get anywhere positive, continuously following those patterns. And after giving myself the opportunity to have space
Mhm.
from her, I felt more at peace. Because of the fact that there were no boundaries when I lived at home, that whenever she wanted, she came to my room. I shared a room with one of my siblings, or, or if family came to visit, automatically, like, they would sleep in our room or whatever, or in my brother's room, for example. Like, it was something that happened with all my siblings, but it was constantly being stepped in on, like, where I think I'm creating a safe space for myself, but here comes other people coming through, and then it's no longer mine anymore. And because of that, I also wouldn't give myself a chance to kind of like recover, reboot,
Yeah.
because every time I was trying to, here comes something else, or here comes my mom with this or with that, or whatever the case may be, and I wouldn't have the opportunity to like reboot. And after moving out, I've been able to, because I'm not constantly surrounded by other people's issues, at least my family's issues,
Mhm.
because sin querer, like, I care about them so much that I'm gonna want to step in and help them. I'm gonna want
Yeah.
to step in and protect them and
And
help
carry
them.
their
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Right. Like, it's like numerous times I've had to defend my mom at the hospital, with nurses, with
Yeah.
people,
I
my
understand.
siblings being the oldest too. Like, I constantly, so it's because it's so automatic that it's almost sometimes I'm kind of afraid to go and visit because of that, because it's like I'm over here feeling high and mighty because I finally had that time and space to be able to feel myself and just be me and think about me, right? But the moment I step in my mom's house, I'm already like, oh, I need to help them with that, or I'm scared I'll fall back into it, and it's like I said, it's a work in progress. Por lo mismo.
Yeah. You know what's funny is that I'm glad that we're having this conversation because I've seen it trending a lot on the famous TikTok that um the first
Tiketoke.
child yeah, the first child is always the child that carries the most baggage of their family.
Tell me why every time I see those videos, and I'm like, why you coming for me?
I feel attacked.
I always say that. I'm feeling a little attacked right now, and I'm done.
Yeah, and like a lot of them, it's sad because a lot of the videos, it's like a sound that's popular, and then a lot of the people that are reacting to the sound start crying. And it's funny because the oldest, they literally have had their boundaries. They've never known what that is. And so when they move out and I would assume that when they move out and they start to live their lives, they realize that, you know, the baggage that comes from being the oldest and like that comes from wanting to help your parents and your younger siblings, it doesn't have to be such a big burden on you. And you can, it's like coming to the realization of wanting to and being able to live your life and just think about yourself for a change. And it's funny because it sounds like, you know, that a lot of us feel guilt for growing up.
It always falls back to guilt.
Yeah.
I guess I think about in the situations I've been in, where somehow, some way, it's my fault, and I just feel guilty. And
Yeah.
it's part of the manipulation. It's part of the gaslighting. I was a very emotional. I still am a very emotional person. I get sentimental, Chiona for life,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the way I've dealt with things. And I mean, I'm pretty sure it's just the way like I grew up with my family. But I think because of how much I express my emotions physically,
Mm-hmm.
crying,
Mm-hmm.
like my facial
Oh
expression,
my God, yes.
right? Huffing and puffing type of deal. But I think because of that, and my mom being the opposite in a way,
Mhm.
she's not the type to just cry in a movie. Like for example, Under the Same Moon. Have you seen that one? With
Yeah.
Kate del Castillo.
Oh
Girl,
my
I
gosh.
bawled my eyes out. Like I'm sitting there crying, and you see this little boy at the light, and you see his
Mhm,
mom
this is
across the street
mom.
at the light, and they're
He
just
sees
waiting it to
his
turn
mom.
green, right? And they're just waiting, right? And they're so excited to see each other. No spoiler for anybody. I'm so sorry, but they're waiting for it, and then it turns green that they could walk across the street, right? The crosswalk. They cross the
Oh my
crosswalk.
God, yes, so
And then it
beautiful.
ends. The movie ends. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, "Oh my god, I'm just bawling, right?
He did
Chillando.
all that and he found his mom.
Like, yeah, just crying. And then my mom's like, "Yeah, it's todo."
Oh my gosh.
And I'm looking at her like puffy red eyes, tears coming down my cheeks, and I'm looking at her like, "What are you talking about? That's it." Like they found each other. And she's like, "Pues ahí se acabó." Yeah,
Ma'am, sit back down. You need
get
to
out.
rewatch.
Just get out. Fuera.
You know what's
But
funny? My mom's the complete opposite. My mom is so emotional.
really,
Yes, and it's funny because I've been so desensitized to her crying that when she cries, I get pissed. I don't cry, I get pissed.
that triggers you. Wow.
Yeah, it makes
Interesting.
me mad because I'm like,
Mhm.
you cry for everything. And it's funny because
Girl,
my
you're
dad,
chillona too.
yeah,
That's insane. Okay, sorry. Continue.
but my dad is very cold-hearted.
Oh, really?
My dad is very much the, que no lloraba enfrente de uno. And it
Bien
was like,
macho.
yeah. And Under the Same Moon got him though. That one
Oh,
got him.
did it?
Yeah, it got him. But it got him. But it's crazy because he's very, very like bland, very just two emotions.
Her face.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think about it and I'm like, with him, when he would cry and I would see him cry, girl, I would bawl. I'd be like, oh my God, my dad is crying.
Está
He,
desosando.
yeah, and he's crying. And like, and then I would see my mom crying. I'm like, oh my God, here she goes again. Like, why are you crying? Right?
Girl, I can't with you.
Yes. But now I see that man cry and I'm like, you're a piece of shit.
You know what's funny? My
Mhm.
dad, that's where I got it from. My dad is the biggest baby.
Oh, okay.
Like him and I could be watching, and we're both just, and he's just gonna moco,
Con el moco bien
you
suelto.
know, and like, and he's just like, es que me dio alergia a los ojos, and we just, that's the joke.
That's
But
so funny.
but he's a total crybaby. Like you saw him when I got married. Who was
Yeah.
hella
Oh, yeah.
crying in the
Yeah. Me
father daughter
too.
dance?
Me
Like my
too.
dad is a crybaby. Like my 15 años when we did the father daughter dance, también lloró, yo lloré. Like we just cried, 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 chillones. And yeah, and my mom, I just think it's interesting. And I think, okay, so the reason I brought that up was because I believe, and I've learned this more and more now, is that my mom didn't know she didn't know how to deal with me, I guess. She didn't know how to have conversations with her super emotional, sensitive child. And
Mm.
instead of trying to figure out one way or another to do it, she avoided it because it's something she's not super in tuned herself, that even taking that step of let me try this with my daughter. Girl, there's no way she was gonna touch that.
She suppressed
She
her
was not about
emotions.
to go
Yeah.
down that road. So I think that's the other reason why too, como dices tú, ella para darse cuenta de las cosas que yo estaba haciendo, or you know, if I had notes, because back in the day, what did we do? We wrote notes to your
Mhm.
friends,
Back on the
right?
good old
Y a
days.
veces los guardabas and then you had nicknames por lo mismo.
Mhm.
And I think you're right. That's probably it, because she wanted to find out what was going on with me por no hablarlo conmigo, because maybe, and here's the thing though, she caused it to be where she
It's
is a
your fault.
fuck for real. But I can't say it's completely her fault because,
Mhm.
et cetera, et cetera. But it is in a way a lot has to do with the way I grew up with her and how she influenced us, that because of the way she treated me, the way she had conversations with me is also the reason why I grew up the way that I did. Going back to examples of I didn't even do anything wrong, but I already felt like I did. So then
Mhm.
automatically, like, I'm anxious, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a combination of it all. But my dad was a lot better at boundaries. He was a lot better at privacy, and it because of the fact that he's a man.
Mhm.
But that man to have conversations, he did not have a problem telling me that there's lesbians in the world, that I'm gonna grow hair
In your
down there.
hoo ha.
Yeah, and down south, my breasts were gonna grow. But other than that, he was really good about knocking, not walking in. It's just it's crazy to me now that I think about it that I'm like, I don't know.
It's funny, boundaries are it's like so simple, right? And we hear this word a lot. It's very
Mhm.
popular right now. It's gaining momentum, like this idea of creating boundaries. And they're so like easy to talk about, but they're so hard to create. And we have to set some boundaries with our relationships, with anything. It's good to set these boundaries in order for us to be healthy and in order for us to heal, in order for us to feel that we are validating our true self. We need to set these boundaries.
True.
Yeah. And I think the important part is that, like always, like we talk about it, that we're having this conversation and that we're working on it.
You know, if you think about it, it's like there's these boundaries, right? But when you don't have them, there's obviously consequences to it. Like I've met many women who get married to escape their household. They get married to escape their household because it's tradition that you, as a woman, you cannot move out just to move out. Like you have to be married or, to be able to leave your
Mhm.
home. Porque si no, no está bien o se mira mal. It's always going back to the que dirán, right?
Mhm.
And because they're so close minded to the idea that it could, like, how am I going to let you leave? You got to be married. You have to get married. I had a cousin who lied to her parents saying that she was engaged to her boyfriend just so she could move out. But
Oh
they never got married.
shit.
They just moved in together and she couldn't stand him. But I estaba. And she got tatted. That was a rule too that they weren't allowed to, get tattoos under their parents' roof.
Yeah, the
But
common one.
the idea of like I'm gonna
Freedom.
pretend to get engaged so I can move out. It gets to that extreme.
Yeah.
And then I have another friend, like, who was just tired of the shit at home that she's like, "Fuck it, I'm getting married. Pa salirme." Pero, like, I don't blame them if that was the situation they were in and that was the only option they had, like, of course, take it. I mean, I'm sure if I was in a situation where I didn't get the opportunities I got, oh, for sure, I would've been like, "Fuck it, let me get out of here. Let me get married." But it's just super unfortunate to have to get to that point.
Yeah, and it's sad because it's so common too. It's more common than we think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you ask our aunts, older women in our family, I've heard it where they're like, no, pues es que ya tenía que casarme o porque ya estaba
Si quería andar
más
de
grande.
novia, ajá.
Ujú. Yeah. Or porque él se quería venir al norte, pues era de casarme
Mm.
porque se iba a ir and just different reasons, but it was many stories turn out to be more like because they had to, because
Yeah,
solas they weren't gonna be able to move out on their own.
yeah.
Do you think your mom has a hard time with privacy, giving privacy?
Oh, yeah.
Why? Why do you think that is though?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I think that for my mom, it's like she kind of wants to know everything that's going on in her house, like down to like the what you're going through emotionally.
I think with my mom, I think because she didn't have very much privacy
Mhm.
growing up, she grew up with four other sisters, and she's one of the younger ones. And so, of course, they had to share rooms and be in each other's business all the time because they
Mhm.
were always watching over her. So I think a lot of it has to do with like living with her sisters that she didn't get very much privacy. And this woman can be a little petty sometimes. I don't know, maybe I don't know, but there's moments where I thought, "Why is she being jealous? Like, is that possible? Is that possible for my mom to be jealous of me, her daughter? You would think she should be happy for me."
Yeah, I don't know. I think that for my mom specifically, I think that it's just difficult for her because she didn't really grow up with like effective forms of communication. So I think that her way of finding out things about us or learning new things about us is like through prying because I mean there's not a conversation in this house que no se le escapa a esa señora. And so yeah, I do think that's why. I think that that's why it's so difficult for her specifically.
There was many times
They were
I was
courting
being
you.
I was being taken to nice places, this and that, and she wouldn't get excited about it. Like I almost felt bad about it. So it got to a point where like I didn't want to share about it. I always got that vibe from her, or I never got response of joy. It was usually responses of, "Oh, well, you spent a lot of money," or "That's a lot of money," or "That's expensive," or "Why would you go do that?" You know?
Mhm, mhm.
So I think that's why I jumped to that idea or that my theory, I guess.
It's almost as if like for your mom it puts her back in the place of like of living with her siblings. So that was so normal to her that now she does it with you guys.
Mhm. Mentality for parents that, well, that's my kid, like, I have to know what's going on with them or
Mhm.
they live under my roof.
They need to do what I say.
Mhm.
They need to listen to what I ask of them and it doesn't matter how they feel or if they even want to do it. They're gonna
Yeah.
they're gonna do it because I say.
Yeah, and that's what bums me out, how there was a lot of times that I came out feeling really crappy, and it's not fair. I don't think it's fair. I just believe that things could have been different in so many ways.
Mhm. Why healthy boundaries are needed. Because, like I said, it's a trendy topic right now. Everybody's kind of talking about how to set these boundaries, but nobody's really talking about why we need them.
When we are putting others' needs first,
Mhm.
we're neglecting our own. And when we're neglecting our own, it affects our mental and physical health. And I mean, like, thinking selfish. Like, you have to think selfish because if not, you will fall back in those same habits, like the ones I described that happened to me. It's something that I'm still dealing with myself, but it's a matter of reminding yourself that it's okay to be selfish, that setting up boundaries will come off as selfish.
Yeah.
And these are things that you don't feel, I didn't feel before until I did it that I'm like, oh my God, this feels wrong. It's gonna feel wrong.
You're going to feel
It's
guilt,
definitely gonna,
people.
it's gonna feel guilty. You're gonna
Mhm.
feel guilty. Pero it's just reminding yourself, having this conversation with yourself that it's okay. And it's like boundaries are hard, but they are something our parents avoided because it was hard.
Mhm.
Let's not make that same mistake. Let's continue to be cycle breakers
Yeah.
for our own sake, at least.
At least, right?
At least.
Just kidding. I wanted to read something to you and then
Okay.
so I found this and there's no writer for it. It's unknown. It's
Mm,
anonymous.
mhm.
But the quote is, "You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm."
Mm.
And with that being said, continue shining your light and let your stories be heard.